And today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about sleep. And sleep is something that we all need, first of all. It's something that we do every day in our life. So it's pretty obvious, I would hope, that it's something that's pretty important. But when it comes to women and going through perimenopause, there's even more importance on sleep throughout this phase of our life, and it's also a time where a lot of women struggle with sleep. And there's a couple of reasons here. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about what can be the cause. Actually, there's two main causes, and you're not going to like me for these. I'm sorry. There's two main reasons that women can be dealing with sleep, or two main contributors, I guess, and two main reasons why we can wake up throughout the night. And when this is something that's just ignored or not addressed, and I've done it in the past myself as well, it's just you kind of just get into rhythm and into routine and get used to the fact that you're not sleeping well. But ultimately, it's a really important process for our body to go through. It's part of being able to regulate our hormones. It's part of being able to set memories in our mind and to help with a lot of cognition. Cravings are regulated throughout the evening. That's a hormone regulation thing as well. Blood sugar, there's a bunch of different things that need to happen throughout the night. And if we're not sleeping well, our body's not going to be able to do the things that it needs to do. So, what are the causes from the outside of why you're not sleeping well? And for a lot of women, as I said, this is going to be something you're not going to love me for. I'm sorry, but it's important to know. And a really big contributor here is caffeine. And I know a lot of the times we use caffeine because we're maybe not sleeping well at night. And so you wake up in the morning and it's like, I need my coffee to get through the day. But the problem with caffeine is that this is going to spike adrenaline in your body, which is meant to keep you up and keep you awake and keep you alert. But the problem with caffeine is that this has a 6-hour half-life for someone who is detoxifying properly. So 6-hour half-life means if you have a glass of or a cup of coffee in the morning, let's say, just for to make it easy, let's say there's 100 grams of caffeine in there. This is not the accurate number, but if there's 100 grams of caffeine in there, 6 hours later, you'll still have half of that in your system. So 50 grams of caffeine. 6 hours after that, you'll still have half of that in your system. So there's still 25 grams of caffeine in your system. And 6 hours later, you'll have half of that. So you'll have an eighth of the amount of caffeine in your system. That's 24 hours. That's the entire cycle. And then what we do is we drink caffeine in the morning. A lot of the times that's kind of the pick me up to get you through the day. Some women will have a mid afternoon crash. That's something I commonly hear. And this is a time where the caffeine's starting to come down, our energy's starting to come down. And so we need something to pick us back up to keep us going again. But then it comes to bedtime, and maybe you don't have an easy time falling asleep. And that can be because of the caffeine that's been going on throughout the day. It can also be because when we're having caffeine, it's spiking cortisol in our system, and cortisol raises blood sugar. And so, this is something that is a big part of why we don't sleep well at night as well, or why we wake up throughout the night, is because bringing up our blood sugar will keep it up for a little bit and then it drops back down. And so a lot of people are actually living in a chronic state of low blood sugar, which results in us turning to more caffeine or to sugar. And so this is a vicious cycle for a lot of people. And it's, if you look at the standard American diet, it's something where there's stimulation from caffeine or from sugar that is kind of constant throughout the day. And when our system is in this like constant roller coaster of cortisol goes up, cortisol goes down, cortisol goes up, cortisol goes down, we're not able to get into the normal rhythm that we're supposed to be, which is where cortisol is high in the morning because we want to wake up. And then it's supposed to gradually decline. When it comes to bedtime, it should be low. But if you've been drinking coffee in the morning and having the spikes on and off throughout the day, this gets dysregulated. And so this is where our circadian rhythm can get out of balance. When cortisol goes down in the evening, this is when melatonin, which is our sleep hormone, is supposed to come up. So caffeine is a really big contributor here for why people are having a hard time sleeping. And this may be something that you didn't have issues with in the past as well. But as we, get into the perimenopause years where hormones are changing and ultimately our body is not regulating glucose as it used to in the past, we can become insulin resistant, which can cause other problems as well. But this is a common problem that I see with clients. They either can't fall asleep, that's actually less common for what I see, or they fall asleep no problem, but that they're waking throughout the night. And generally speaking, between 2 and 4, if you're waking around that time throughout the night, that can be a sign that there's blood sugar dysregulation going on in your system. You may wake up and you find, I have one girl, what did she call it? The monkey brain turns on, and it just like chatters away in your ear and you can't fall back asleep. That can be something else that we need to deal with from, regulating the body's ability to shut down and to calm down. But it also can be because the cortisol is coming up and it's waking you up and it's keeping you going at a time when you should be resting and sleeping. The other reason that we often can wake up throughout the night is actually histamine, which is an interesting one. And histamine is a reaction that our body has when our immune system is trying to fight things off, or when there's things going on in our system that need um, the one half, the Th2 half of our immune system to kick on and to start to try and fight these things. And a big one that can be problematic here that I talk about a fair amount, actually I haven't talked about as much recently, is parasites. Parasites put us into a Th2 dominant state because that's the branch of our immune system that's going to go after parasites. And parasites are more active in the evening time. So this is going to be a time where our histamine levels can come up as well. And histamine also can be a thing that's waking us up. I went totally off track there. Okay, so caffeine is the first thing that can be a contributor to why we're not able to sleep at night. The other one that you also might not like me for is alcohol. And alcohol, we see it as a downer, like it's a calming thing. It's the end of a stressful day. You come home and you just want to relax and kick back and have a glass of wine or a beer or some kind of alcoholic beverage. But ultimately, alcohol will also spike blood sugar for you as well. But it can calm you down. And then it also will have a rebound effect where it actually kind of picks you back up. So it may help you relax in the evening, and then you go to bed and you fall asleep, and then that can be what's waking you up throughout the night as well, especially if there's a blood sugar crash, because when your blood sugar goes low, your body, it goes into fight or flight mode and it wants to keep you alive. So it spikes the adrenaline throughout the night, which is followed by cortisol, which raises blood sugar, and then this whole cycle repeats over and over again. So sleep is really important for women, especially going through perimenopause, because like I said, it's necessary to regulate our hormones. And it's going to be more important, it's important for men as well, but it's more important for women because we rely so heavily on progesterone, in which is, the one of our sex hormones that's not the opposite, but goes hand in hand with estrogen in terms of keeping us balanced and keeping us not having the perimenopause symptoms, the estrogen dominant symptoms. So the hot flashes, the night sweats. It's not about necessarily having less estrogen. It's about having a good regulation of estrogen and progesterone. And if you're stressed all the time, progesterone is likely to be lower. And so if you're not sleeping well and your body's not able to regulate your sex hormones properly, you're going to have more symptoms throughout this phase of life. Your body's not going to heal if you're not sleeping properly, which is something that maybe many people don't know because it's not commonly talked about. And if your body's not able to heal and reset throughout the evening when it's supposed to be, you're not going to move forward. So if weight gain has been a problem that you've been struggling with through perimenopause, sleep is really important here. This is something that you're not going to get the results you're looking for if you're not sleeping properly. So let me ask you, are you the woman who comes home at the end of the day? Maybe you wake up in the morning, maybe you've been tired all day long, you get home, you're exhausted, and you put your head on the pillow and you cannot fall asleep. All of a sudden, all of the thoughts come into your head, all of the ideas. And there's all kinds of memes on Facebook that are funny and I've laughed at them, but ultimately a lot of us deal with this, and there's not a lot of support that's offered in terms of how you can help to fix this and what you can do to help improve the situation. But if you're the woman who's tired all day long and then you get into bed at night and your eyes are like wide open and you can't fall asleep and your brain won't shut up, this is what can be has been referred to as like tired but wired. So you're tired all day long, you get into bed and you can't shut off. This is typically a cortisol pattern. So this is someone who's dealing with a lot of stress throughout the day and they get into bed at night, their circadian rhythm is not properly regulated and they're not able to shut it down and go to sleep. There are things you can do to help improve this. Getting outside, getting some sunlight on your skin and first thing in the morning is a really good one. Sunlight is really helpful. It's interesting because melatonin, which is our sleep hormone, we assume that we actually produce it at night. It's actually not entirely true. Getting out in sunlight, your body will start to produce melatonin, but then it gets turned on at night when it's dark in your room. So getting out and getting some daylight, especially early in the morning, is really helpful for regulating your circadian rhythm. A really big problem factor for circadian rhythm is blue light. I'm currently sitting in front of my phone and two computers. So blue light is something that we're exposed to all of the time in today's life. I mean, since 2020, everyone went inside, had to work inside, kids went to school inside on computers. And so blue light is something that's problematic because blue light is the color of light or the spectrum of light that our bodies associate with midday. So if you're constantly in front of blue light and being exposed to that, your body's going, "Oh, no, no, it's middle of the day. It's not time to go to bed." So this is where, if you're on your phone at night, if you're watching TV at night, blue light blocking glasses can be helpful here, or trying to shut the screens off at least 2 hours before bedtime so that your body can start to kind of wind down and recognize that it's time for sleep is coming soon. And then the other one is the people that can fall asleep no problem, but are wide awake in the middle of the night. And again, that most of the times is either a blood sugar pattern, which is something that becomes more of a problem for women, for men as well, but for women going through perimenopause, because we just don't regulate blood sugar as well as we used to. We don't regulate cortisol as well as we used to either. And cortisol and blood sugar kind of go hand in hand because when cortisol goes up, blood sugar goes up. And then the body's like, "Oh, I don't need this. We're not running from a bear. I don't need to go fight something. So what do I do with it?" So it pulls the blood sugar back down, and then you're in that low glycemic state, as I mentioned. And if it goes too low, then it's just brought back up over and over and over again. So if your, blood sugar is elevated, if you're having, not even if you're having wine at night, but if you're having something at night that brings your blood sugar up and then it goes down throughout the night, the body will wake you up. It's a survival mechanism. Your body doesn't want for you to, run out of blood sugar and not survive throughout the night. So that's one thing. And then the histamine was the other thing as well. If you're fighting something or your body's constantly having like a reactionary response throughout the night, that can wake you up as well. So these are just some reasons why you may not be sleeping well at night, but ultimately the message I wanted to make sure to get to you is that if you're not sleeping at night, this is something that we need to address. It's something that's not going to get better on its own most of the times. And it's also something that it's often kind of brushed off. It's not seen as a really big deal. It's like, "Oh, I'm tired. I'll just have some coffee in the morning and just carry on with my day." But ultimately, if you're dealing with other symptoms like the perimenopause symptoms, the hot flashes, the brain fog is highly connected here because your brain needs to repair and do the things that it's meant to do while you're sleeping. And if it's not able to do that, you're not going to be thinking clearly. There's actually studies that have shown that, missing or having a shorter night of sleep, I think it's 5 hours of sleep for 1 or 2 nights, your cognitive ability is similar to being impaired, which is crazy. So your brain needs that. Your nervous system needs the repair that happens during sleep. Your body needs to heal and recover while you're sleeping. And if this is not going to be possible, you're going to have other symptoms. And weight gain is something I commonly, hear through perimenopause as a frustration that women deal with. And this is one of the big things that we really need to take a look at. Sometimes it's not, you should get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to make sure you get to the gym and do that hour on the treadmill or that hour boot camp class before you go to work. Sometimes it's you need to get more sleep, which seems super basic and is something that, can feel like not enough effort to get results if you're dealing with things, but sleep is majorly important. So, if you're struggling with sleep, if you're dealing with any of the symptoms that I mentioned or any symptoms and you'd like support, this is something I can help you with. We test our clients to figure out what's going on with them. Why are they having the symptoms that they're having? Why are they having the health challenges that they're having? Because a lot of the times I've experienced this in the past as well. When I'm dealing with something, you can go to your doctor and your doctor can run tests and the tests come back and it's like either there's nothing wrong with you, everything came back as normal, or the approach is to give you a medication. And the thing with the medication is the medication is not addressing the reason that you're having the issues. It's not dealing with the cause of the symptoms. It's covering them up, yeah, so that you can survive and not have to deal with it. But it's when you're not resolving the issue, you're going to have this for a long time. I have some had clients in the past that were on sleeping pills. Sleeping pills are not meant to be used long term. And often your doctor won't tell you this, but it's a solution. Well, yeah, okay, let's get you sleeping better. But it's not dealing with why are you not sleeping well to begin with. If there's a toxin or there's a chemical or there's a stress going on in your body that's preventing you from being able to do that properly, you need to start dealing with that or you're never actually going to feel better. You're never actually going to resolve the issue, right? So, if you've been dealing with sleep troubles, this is something I can help you with. I'll drop the link in the comments if you're on Instagram. Check the link in my bio and reach out because ultimately, like your body, if you're not sleeping, your body is trying to yell at you and say, hey, I need your help. I need your support. And oftentimes, we're not conditioned as a society today to recognize the messages that our body is trying to send. And there's so much learning you can do, and there's so much you can do to help your body when you start to learn to listen to the messages that it's sending. So hopefully you found this helpful. Hopefully you got some value from this. If you have any questions for me, reach out anytime. If you would like to dig deeper and figure out what's going on with you and what your body needs to get back into balance, click the link in my bio or in the comments below and book an assessment. The assessment is great because we'll test you from head to toe to find out what's going on in your body, what areas are working well, and what areas need support. And from there, we can put together a plan to help you get back into balance. And when the body's in balance, you're not going to have symptoms. You're going to feel a whole lot better. So, anyways, thank you for joining. Thank you for watching. If you know anyone who's struggling with sleep, or if you've heard anyone who's been complaining that they can't get to sleep at night, share this with them. I'd be more than happy to have a chat with you. And yeah, hopefully you enjoy the rest of your day. This is Kate from Align Natural Health. Live well.